there. And if you have a card handy, you might want it for grasses, you might not, but it's nice just to have one handy. And sometimes what I do is, if when one is expired, I'll just I'll bend it in half or cut it, and then I've got a pointed edge too, so I have a choice. So if I cut it in half, now don't cut your credit card in half if you're using your credit card or your license, but or your health card, but whatever card you've got, your ID card. But this way I have a corner or I have a rounded edge. So that's why. And besides that, I don't want to go to the store and think that I have money and I don't. So, but I don't let them throw them away. They say, oh, I'll take care of that. And I say, oh, no, I think I've got a better use for that. So I just take it back. So not that my house is full of all kinds of things that I save, but I do have a few things that I do hang on to for useful purposes to repurpose. So hi, Donna, nice to have you. So we're just about time. We've just got a few more moments. We've drawn our card. We have a little card, just a half. I cut it in half, so I have a pointed edge or a rounded edge. I have an option. You'll want your containers of water, just 2 will do for this project. Paper towel, or something to wipe with. I find Kleenex doesn't work quite the same. Tissue doesn't work the same. Paper towel seems to absorb better. And brushes, I have a 0. I will use a 3. Now I do have, and this is the thing about brushes. These are both a number 3 brush. But if you look at the tips, this one has quite a nice point. And the other one, although it's a pointed brush, it doesn't have the same point. So sometimes I have 2 of the same number brush, and they do different things. And then I've got a larger brush for my background, for my sky and my sand. And I also have an angle brush. If you have an angle brush or able to pick up an angle brush, sometimes it's good to get in little tiny spots, and it gives you a little more control. So those are the brushes that I have: paper towel and water. Our colors today are crimson, sap green, purple, ochre, aquamarine blue, cerulean blue. So we'll have a different color sky and different color water. And raw umber. So we just have some little, it's like a broken down fence at the front corner. That's where the raw umber will go. White. So if you have white, this is what changes this picture from a watercolor picture to a mixed media, just because you use white. But the white will give us a nice crisp look on our cabanas. And black is just, we could use blue and red mixed together for the birds. We don't have to use black. It's up to you. If you don't want to use black in your picture, you can just mix red and blue together. It gives you a nice dark color. So those are today's colors. And there's a lot of white, but it's not a lot of white, but there is white in this picture in between the rows on the canvas of the cabanas. So we'll be leaving white, and then we'll be using white to do the outside edges. So let's see where we're at for timing. I have 2 clocks. It looks like we're at time. So welcome back. Summer's coming, or spring, or whatever season. It's changing wherever you are, whether it's rain or snow or fire or whatever's happening. Hopefully it's changing for the better for you. Let's go inside rather than be outside at this point. So going inside ourselves, we'll just release anything that might be troubling you, or any anything that will distract from this 1 hour, a gift of 1 hour that you would give to yourself. So we'll just take 3 deep breaths and we'll just let any tension just drop off as we exhale. So our first deep breath in, and hold it at the top and give yourself a smile and release. Just drop all of that away. Second deep breath in and hold it at the top. Really expand your lungs this way and release. Let go of anything that doesn't serve you in this hour. Our third deep breath in and hold it just for a second and smile and release. Let all that tension go. Give yourself a shake. Maybe shake your arms out. And we'll go ahead and we'll start with our picture. So our picture today is cabanas. I hope you enjoy this one. This is could be a little tricky because of all the lines. If you were able to draw all those lines, congratulations. There's a lot there to do. So I'm going to just turn my camera, just tip it down, bring my picture in front of me. You can see that okay. And we're going to start with our sky. So our sky is aquamarine blue. And as I said, I'm using my largest, so I have different brushes. I have 1s and 3s and an angle brush, but I'm going to use my largest brush for the aquamarine sky. Now, I think I'll wet my sky first. I'm coming around the cabanas, around the roof. I'm just using clear water. It's okay to go over those birds. I'm going right to the outer corner. Coming right to that top line, right along the side of my cabana. So before we put paint on this, we'll have a look. Okay, I went away for a minute. I don't know why. I guess my internet conked out, so I'm back. So just tip your canvas and just check and see that you've got water all around your cabana. And if you have water on your cabana, you can just use your paper towel and just tap that off. Just dry that. And then we're going to go ahead with ultramarine blue. So this is my color, my ultramarine blue. And I'm just going to that upper line. And I do want it to be light. I'm not looking for really dark sky. And I'm just going to use my brush. Even though I put water on there, I'm going to use my brush and just help that flow a little bit. And you can see I'm just slowly working my way across. We're going to try not to be in too much of a hurry for this one. There's lots of spots where it could go wrong if we don't take our time. And if your sky is lighter and darker in some spots, don't sweat it. We're actually going to put some clouds in the sky. now this I painted. I'm going to use my paper towel and I'm just going to tap a few spots. Now, if I put a cloud at this side of the cabana, I want that cloud to be also on the other side. So if I'm putting a cloud here, I want the cloud to also be on the other side. And I can take that cloud right up to where the birds are and clear that little spot where the birds are. There'll still be a little bit of blue in there, but those birds will really stand out because there's a white spot or lighter spot. So because I've got a cloud coming behind on this side, I want to match it on the other side. And if when you're doing this, you take off more than you like, the beauty of it right now while it's still wet, you can, if you decide, you can go on and add a little bit of extra color. It's up to you. Now, water is self-leveling, meaning your sky, where your sky ends, is where the water will begin, and it needs to be as straight as possible. So just double check that it's going across as straight as possible. And we'll leave that to dry. We'll move down onto the sand. So the sand is ochre, and that's below the water line and below the cabanas. So I'm just going through with a brush with clear water, and we're going to paint underneath the cabanas and underneath that second line. So I'm still leaving room for the water, for the ocean. We're just putting on clear water. And it's okay to go over the fence post in the corner. You can go right over that. And then we'll add in ochre. So with the water on there, it should flow fairly evenly, fairly smoothly. It doesn't have to be the same color all the way through. It is sand. We will come back and add a little bit of fresh ochre near the end for shadows and for a little bit of variance in the earth's surface. And again, it's okay to go over those shapes in the corner. And I'm going to switch to a number 3 brush. And I'm going to paint the top of my first cabana. I'm using the color crimson. Crimson or alizarin crimson or alizarin red or crimson or just red if you like. Because we have red, green, and purple. So I'm going to paint the 2 lines on the outside of my cabana at the only at the top. So I'm going to rest my finger on my dry cabana in the center, not near my sky, and I'm going to paint my first line coming down. And I'll paint a second line coming or going up. You can go down or up, whichever. With the same color on the same cabana, I'm going to paint on my roof, on the front, my 3 lines coming down. Now, if you don't have a perfectly steady hand, that's okay. This is canvas. And if the wind is blowing your canvas, that's okay. So I still want to let my ochre dry. So I'm not going to bring my colors all the way down to the ochre. I'm only doing the tops of the cabanas to start. Now, because that crimson color is a really dark color, you may need to rinse your brush quite a lot to get the red from it. It's a good staining color. Now that I've got that color off, I'm going into sap green. Into sap green, I'm going to do 2 lines on the side of my center cabana. And I'm going to do 3 on the front. And then rinsing that brush. I'm moving over to my third cabana with purple. And I have 3 stripes on the top of this one that's closest to us. And I have 3 stripes in front. 1, 2, and 3. Now still with my number 3 brush, I'm going into my black and turning it into gray, so fairly light. And I'm going to paint the inside of my cabana. The two of them I can see inside. There's a little stool there, so I'm going to go around that little stool. I'm just painting the inside. And if it's lighter and darker in places, don't sweat it. We are going to come back and put the lines that you can see from the sky through the back. We'll be putting some lines which will detract a little bit if it's lighter or darker. And we're almost at halftime, so before I read our halftime card, let's go ahead and we'll paint that little stool in. So it's a light red. You can paint it pink, you can make it red. It's a very light red. So we'll just paint the top of that stool and the legs. And there's a leg in the back and a leg at the side, right by the tent. There's just a small, it's a 3-legged stool. And I'll just make the edges of that stool, the top of that stool, the edge is just a little bit darker. And I'm just going to lift off a little section at the top in the center. And maybe I'll make those legs just a little bit darker. There also is a stool in the center cabana, but it's farther away and it's a little bit lighter because it's farther away. So you can just use watered down the same color. So you just sort of see it in the back. Now, while you're finishing that up, I'll just read the card, our card for today. May you know love. May you know love. Love, beautiful love. May you love yourself. May you be kind and gracious and generous to yourself. And may this love radiate to the world around you, to all beings and creatures, and to the environment. May pure love drive your actions and ideas. When you find yourself at a crossroads, ask yourself, what would love do? May you know love. And now I think we'll do that water. So the water is cerulean blue. I'm using my number 3 brush. I'm not wetting first. I'm controlling the paint. Coming down the side of the cabana, right over the top of my sand, right to the water's edge, and just filling that in. Cerulean blue. Coming to the side of the next cabana. And over one more. So I've just gone back to the other one. I want it to be as consistent in color as possible. I can lift off and change some of this, but I don't want it to be really dark on one side and really light on the other. And my last side. So now if you look from a distance, you can see it's smaller here, and it just gets a little bit more water each time. So it's farther and farther away each time. And you can put some motion or movement in your water just by running your brush along, holding it. It will give you the look of waves just by holding your brush and then taking that paint and wiping it off. So you can get your brush damp, not wet, just damp, and hold it. And it will give you some motion. A little bit of movement or energy in your water. And the beauty of watercolor, if you have more, taken off more than you want, you can go ahead and you can pop that back on. So we can change those waves, make them lighter, darker, smaller. So now we'll start to work with those cabanas back to the original color, which was red or crimson or alizarin crimson, whatever color you used. Now we're going to take the roof of that cabana, come over the edge straight down. So it comes over the edge and straight down. We're going to paint that first stripe. So we're going to match the stripe on the roof with the stripe coming down the side. Next one, we'll do the same, coming down the side, matching from the roof. And we have stripes at the front, coming straight down. And we'll move on to our sap green. I've got a thin line down this, just down between the two, like the corner piece. And I'm going to do the front. So I'm joining this piece. This piece folds over. And I've got a little bit of green just coming down the front. And I've got a little piece on the outside edge. And my last cabana, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to bring that color down all the way to the ground. And from here, I'll go to the front of my cabana. And I think I've missed a center line coming down from the corner. Just a really fine line coming down on my first cabana. Just my corner. So I'm going to let those dry, and from here I'm going to move on to the little wooden pegs at the side using my raw umber and a number 3 brush. I'm just going to paint those little posts. I'm not too particular. They just need to look like a little stick coming up. It's just a little fence post. I will be putting grass, so I'm just painting those on. It's just for perspective. while I let that dry, I'm going to go ahead and put my birds on. As I said, if you wanted to, as I had mentioned in the beginning, if you wanted to mix red and blue for a gray color, you could go ahead and do that. I'm just going to use a lightened black for the birds in the background. So I'm just going to paint those on now. And because I've taken off made the clouds where the birds were in the beginning, they're really going to show off. They'll just show up that much brighter because they're in the light part of the sky. And back to that black color, but lightened. In the center, I'm just going to put some light stripes coming down that you would be able to see through the back of the tent. Just some light stripes in there. And while I've got that gray out, I want to give those stools a little bit of grounding. So I'm just going to put a little bit of coloring underneath, like a shadow. And with my sap green, I'm going to start to put on some grasses. Just a few little grasses. Just with sap green. Just popping that up. Now, this is where if you have your credit card and you want to, if I put just a little bit of a little puddle of green in there, and I want to use the corner, you can just pull up, just flip and give me a little bit of grasses. And I'll do the same, just give a little bit of grass on the side. I also want, now that this has dried, I want to put some grasses coming out in between my fence post, in and around. So I'm just giving my cabanas time to dry while I do these other details. So rinsing that green off my brush. It's another staining color that can really linger if you don't work to get that off. And I'm going back into my ochre. We've put ochre on for sand, but I want a shadow for this cabana. So I'm just going to shade and give a little bit of a shadow. A bit of a shadow, a smaller shadow for this cabana because it's a smaller building. And a bigger shadow for this cabana. And I can pick a little bit of that up on my brush and just do a little bit of roughage in the sand. Just a little bit of roughage. And a little bit of base just underneath my little fence post at the side. Just a little bit of now that my cabanas are dry. I want more paint than water, so I need to, if it's too wet, I just want to tap it off, just have more paint than water. I can do this straight line across. And then I can outline right across the top, right down the front. And right down the corner. And the outside. So if your white is picking up some of the color, rinse your brush off and go back into fresh white. So I'm just going around the outside of all of them, just for that fresh edge. And lastly, with a very light gray, I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow at the outer edge of my cabana, just with a very light gray. And this is where you'll need to decide if you're going to sign your art. What are you going to sign your art with? What is your artist signature? And there we have cabanas. So if I put this two side by side, there we have a complete beach scene. There we go. Ready for the beach. I hope you enjoyed that one. There's a lot to that one just because of the stripes.